Okay, hello everybody. Um, my talk title is Reimagine, the way you do continuous integration. And I know that in Belgrade there is a huge Java community, and therefore people have a tendency to use these old school continuous integration solutions like Travis, for example. This talk will be about a completely different approach in CI systems. And my name is Nemytchenko, and I'm developer advocate at GitLab. I'm Russian. I live in Belgrade for 2 years already, so само malo pričam srpski. Ako nije dobro. So I will be speaking in English. And I've got my first job in 2004, first job as a programmer. And in 2006, I became a Ruby developer. Then I've been a co-founder of 2 small outsourcing agencies in Russia and played a lot of different roles there. And then I turned back to freelancing, moved to Serbia, and 7 months ago I joined GitLab. This is my website where you can find some additional information. This is my account on Twitter. And at the beginning, I would like to talk about the way we develop software today. And the trick is that our software development process is not only programming. A lot of juniors tend to think that, okay, we now learn how to program and that's it. And even agile methodology is only about how to actually write the code, how to deliver features. But it doesn't include a lot of stuff we are doing on day-to-day basis, but it's still there. So, for example, before you start working on a feature, you need to, well, first of all, you discuss how feature is going to look like, whether it's a whiteboard in your office or Slack chat. But first you discuss some idea. Then you turn this idea into an issue and keep conversation in the comments in this issue. Then you need to get a plan for your issues. You need to host your code somewhere. And finally, when code is written, you do code review. Then you plan your builds, plan your releases, run your tests in CI, deploy your code, and finally get some feedback from working system, whether it's a customer or your users, and turn this feedback into the ideas. This is the whole life cycle of software development process, and we use a lot of tools to cover this whole life cycle, and usually every tool covers just a part of this process, and sometimes some tools cover a couple of parts of the whole process. And yeah, it just happened like this, that modern software development process is spread across many tools. And if you work in one project, you might have this set of tools like Travis, GitHub, Trello, and Slack. You join another project and it will be completely different. Bitbucket, Semaphore for CI, Pivotal Tracker for issues, and HipChat for chat. And in third project, you might have Jenkins connected with GitLab and with Jira. And we used to it, we kind of already okay with it, and sometimes we even love to try new tools and explore them, but it doesn't look very productive actually. So if you're not sure what GitLab is, I will just show briefly a couple of screenshots how GitLab looks like. Yeah, and actually, GitLab already covers a bunch of the spots on this picture. Not all of them are covered perfectly. For example, we recently released a very simple Kanban board so that you can plan your issues in a Trello style. But it was just the first iteration, and we are going to improve it. And our master plan looks actually like this. So we are going to make GitLab a place where you can do the whole software development process, like it should be done in one place. You don't have to switch in from tool to tool. And ideally, when you deliver some feature to production, you should be still able to see the whole history of conversation, from the idea to the issue discussion, to the code reviews, to the testing CI, and like the whole story. And today I'll be talking specifically about GitLab CI, which covers these three parts: build management, CI, and deployment. And initially, my talk title looked like this, and I really loved this title because I could draw a lot of funny pictures like this, and I actually drew them. But I actually tricked you because I had a problem with this title before, because only people who already know what GitLab is were appearing on my talk. This is why I decided to change my talk title. And now please raise your hands those who didn't know that my talk is going to be about GitLab CI. Okay, it looks like my trick actually working. Yeah, that's good to know. But yeah, that was from the very beginning. And my intention was to show some not very conventional ways to use GitLab CI and to show you some fun stuff. But then I realized that actually, since even if people use GitLab for code hosting and some project management stuff, a lot of companies still don't use GitLab CI, so it would be unfair to those who are not familiar with GitLab CI to show them advanced tips and tricks. So I decided to make my talk more practical, and yeah, the real name started to look a little bit more boring, but now it's more practical. And yeah, we'll be breaking your bad habits of, we'll see what kind of bad habits we'll be breaking. So during the day, you work on, you definitely write a code, you have conversation with your colleagues, and you spend a couple of time on the routine tasks, which can be automated. And we'll be talking about those, about this habit of not automating the routine tasks. And I analyzed myself, like, where did this habit comes from? And I realized that it comes from the fear of CI systems. That some time ago, in the past, I saw like a couple of CI systems, and I've become afraid of them. And I found 4 fears. And first one was that I need to learn how to install this system. And I already can imagine that I might have spent a day on like the new CI tool installation. The second fear was that now I had to integrate this new CI tool with the rest of my tools. And the third fear was that now I had to convince all of my colleagues to register in this new tool. And the fourth was, okay, now I have to learn how to finally use this CI tool and how to configure it to run my builds. And now we'll take a look how it applies to the GitLab CI. So continuous integration system was merged into the main product of GitLab a year ago, so it's a relatively new CI system. And let's take a look. First of all, installation. This is how you install GitLab itself. So these are just 3 commands, and it is important that it installs from the packages. So you can choose your operating system and install it from packages. You can also install it with Docker. As for CI system installation, it's already there. So no need to install anything. So we just scratching it. Integration, no need to integrate anything. Registration, the same, no need to care about the permissions in different system, the same permissions you have in GitLab, they apply to the CI as well. So only one fear left. This is learning how to use the CI tool. And this is where my story starts. And I'm going to tell you a story. And you will see how easy and powerful GitLab CI is. And our story starts in a company called CatGrab Sophisticated Technologies Incorporated. And this company has a product, and the product consists of two files, file 1 and file 2. And there is a very strict, super important business requirement that concatenation result of these two files should contain hello world. If it doesn't like this, then the whole software development department stays without a salary for a month. Yeah, it's super serious. And well, of course, there was one guy in your team who wrote the test script for this kind of problem. And that guy got a bonus from the management. And well, the whole software development team agreed that, okay, we will, of course, launch the script before we actually deliver our code to the customer. But still, the whole situation didn't make you feel safe. So because like human factor can hit hard, so you decided to finally solve this problem once and for all. And since your code was already stored on GitLab, and you decided to utilize GitLab CI and delegate this work of verification of your code to the GitLab. So let's finally do it. Well, if you will be solving a problem like this, after you spend maybe 1 or 2 minutes, you'll find out that all you need to do is to create this file in your repository and put your instructions there. So here's how the whole configuration for the task like this looks like. So the test here is the name of your job, and the script is a keyword, and then you just put your script, which should be executed. You pushed it to the repository, and here it is. Like your build is running, and it passes or fails depending on the contents of the files. So it is the very minimal but already working CI usage. So, but of course there is a second requirement, and we need to package our code before sending it to customers, and we need to package into zip file. And we already know how to create jobs for CI, so we just add another one. We name it package, we put another script there, and it's there. So it's already working. We now have 2 tabs, and we can switch between them and see the results. But since there is a download, we want to make the result of the job downloadable. We need to make it downloadable, so we need to add artifacts keyword and specify a path we want to make downloadable. So we specify our package GZ, and GitLab will detect it and turn it into this download and browse button, so you can finally download it. But the trick here is that we're running those 2 jobs in parallel, and it actually doesn't make sense since it could happen that test will fail, but the package will be still generated. This is not something we want to achieve, so we need to make it to run jobs sequentially. To do so, we should use a keyword called stages, and in stages we define an order of the jobs to run, and we also define stages in stage in every job. Now they are running in parallel, and the next problem we have is the performance. And first of all, we might notice that now we have a duplication here. So we are executing the same command twice. And you might say that concatenation is not very performant task. But in real system, of course, there can be some compilation step, and you don't want to run it twice. So let's get rid of this, and let's create another job, and we call it compile, and we need to pass this temporary file, compile.txt, to the next stages. To do that, we also use this artifacts keyword, and it will also just work. Now we have three stages, and since we specified artifacts keyword, GitLab makes them downloadable, but if we don't want to make this temporary file downloadable, we can set up expiration time. We can set up expire in 20 minutes, so it will disappear. This temporary file will disappear. The second problem, if we take a look at the logs, it looks like there is a Ruby 2.1, but we haven't specified anything related to Ruby 2.1. It might look confusing, but the trick is that it comes from your GitLab installation defaults. And by default, in gitlab.com, it is set up to use Ruby 2.1 image. And since it contains a lot of Ruby-related packages, it takes time to download it and to launch the job. So we need to learn what Docker image to use to our CI jobs. And it turns out that there is a Linux called Alpine, and it's known by its compactness. And we can just add this one line, and it will make it will run all our commands in this Docker image Alpine. And this small change drops the execution time from 3.5 minutes to 35 seconds. That's another achievement. So we just defined 3 stages. We learned how to pass files between stages. We know how to make artifacts downloadable, and we optimized execution time. Another requirement comes in, and one of the clients wants us to generate ISO image instead of zip archive. And now we need to learn how to deal with complex scenarios, because, well, we could generate them in parallel as well, but ideally we would like them to be generated in parallel within that last package stage. So let's see how to do it. We specify another job. We call it pack ISO, and now the stage is different from the job name. We have 2 jobs, pack GZ and pack ISO, but the stage is the same. And by doing so, they will be running in parallel inside during the package stage execution. The trick here is that the CI doesn't know anything about this mk ISO fs command we are using to generate ISO image. So it's our job actually to provide this executable. So if you just leave it like this, you will get an error. So we need to install the software. And on Alpine Linux, it can be done like this. You just need to run this command, and you can pass multiple commands to the script keyword. And but to make it look better, we can use a keyword called before script, and by doing so, we making it more semantically correct. So the whole configuration now looks like this. And if I would show it to you at the beginning, I think it wouldn't make any sense. But for now, you should, I think, understand every single line. And the visual representation looks like this. So we put our code changes into the repository. They go to compile stage, then to test. Then the results go to 2 parallel jobs, and then the results go to artifact section. Then, of course, business has more stuff for us to do, and now we want to publish a small website with those packages. And we want to put some HTML pages together with our packages to Amazon S3. And this is the command to do it. So since GitLab CI is technology agnostic, it can launch every command you need to execute. So at the beginning, the situation looks like this. So there's you, there is a GitLab project, and there is a S3 bucket. So, and there are two separate operations, like you push your code to GitLab and you deploy your code to S3. But we want the situation looks like this. So we want to push our code to GitLab and it will somehow deliver the code to S3 bucket. So we are talking about automated deployment. And of course we need to care about this executable again. So this AWS click command can be installed using pip, and pip goes together with Python. So we need to use Python Docker image, and we specify stage deploy. So it will be the fourth stage. And we put these two lines in our script keyword. But there is a trick. This command requires us to provide two environment variables which contain secret keys for Amazon. And of course we can do it like this. We can specify two variables and GitLab will turn them into environment variables. But of course it is not a best practice, and ideally we need to keep them secret. There is a place in GitLab. If you go to settings, to variable sections in settings, you can put all the secret variables there and they will be turned into environment variables during the execution. So the configuration looks like this. And we push in it again and it looks like it works. So it executes all the things we specified. But then we have another developer on the project, and before that, we've been developing everything on master, and now it's not really makes sense because you start probably using feature branches, and with our previous configuration, every feature branch will be pushed to the S3. This is not something we want, and to prevent it from doing it, we need to specify only keyword, and so it will be triggered, the deployment will be triggered only when you push something to master. So the situation now looks like this. You push to different branches, but only the master changes go to S3. The sixth requirement, now we need a separate place for testing, since we have even more developers. And we would like to take a look on our stuff before pushing it to production, and you decide to use GitLab Pages. This is another part of GitLab, and so you can just host any static website on GitLab Pages. There are 3 rules you need to follow. First of all, your job should be named Pages. You need to put your files into public folder, and you need to specify artifact section with this public folder. And after doing so, your website will be hosted on the URL like this one. Here's how the configuration looks like. So we again use Alpine image here, and the script is simple. We just copy everything to public folder, and the whole script looks like this. So we now have 2 jobs. One pushes stuff to S3, and another one pushes our site on GitLab Pages, and it pushes there all the branches except the master. So the picture looks like this. And if you take a look at this picture, you might recognize a pattern here. I bet that most of you would call the S3 thing a production environment and the Pages, GitLab Pages, staging environment. And GitLab has support for it, so all you need to do is to specify the keyword environment in every job. And by doing so, you will get a history of all the deployments in GitLab interface. So you'll be able to see when specific changes were deployed on every environment, and moreover, you can roll back to the previous version in case of emergency. So now picture looks the same, but now we know that one destination is staging and another destination is production, and now we have this history. And the last requirement, since you've got like maybe 20 developers now working on the same thing, and you have an automated deployment, it's very easy to mess up a production. And to prevent this from happening, you decide to switch to manual deployment. It is also done using only one keyword. You specify when manual, and after you're doing it, you will get this button. You click on it. So the status of your jobs will be skipped, and you can click whenever you want to deploy. You can click on this button, and it will be triggered. And the last thing, so if you start to have like 100 maybe of developers, then it is a good thing to boot up an instance of your application per branch. And it is also, we can actually emulate it here. We can use another S3 bucket, and but the difference is that we not be copying all our stuff to the root of this S3 bucket. We will be creating folders there and putting, and folder names will be our branch names. So there's another job, and you see the difference that now we have this CI build ref name thing, and it works, but the interesting thing, where this variable comes from. So we didn't put anything to the secret variables, but it will just work because GitLab provides a lot of predefined variables, and you can use them to simplify your configuration. For example, you can get any branch name, like the GitLab version, or like whatever you might need to, and yeah, as I said, to simplify your configuration. So the summary. Deployment is actually just a set of commands, and you need to provide, usually you need to provide the secret keys, and you need to specify where which branches should go to. And GitLab conserves, if you use environments, GitLab conserves the history of deployments, and you can enable manual deployment. So I hope that with this short introduction to GitLab CI, you now understood how it works, and this fear is already beaten, and the situation now looks like this. So I encourage you to go to gitlab.com and to try to play with GitLab CI, because it's really fun. And if you want to like pass this knowledge to your colleagues, you can send them these two links. Those are like, this talk is compiled from these two blog posts, and I have a bunch of GitLab stuff. If you want some, you feel free to grab some on our GitLab booth downstairs. And I'm ready to answer your questions, and I think I can show a couple of yeah, I need to mirror I need to show some real projects, how real projects looks like on GitLab. First of all, questions. Do you have any? Well, you're welcome.
So between stages, do you download the Docker image over and over again, or does it somehow cache if you're using the same image?
There is a cache, but so there is a caching possibility. It caches the image itself, but it takes time to boot it every time. And you can specify different images for every stage.
Yeah, but if you're using the same image for a couple of stages, will it download it?
No, it will be cached, so it will not be downloaded multiple times, but it will be booted up every time.
Okay,
Well,
If you have a manually run job, can that job have interaction with the user? Like entering some parameters, something like that?
as far as I know, for now, we don't support it, but there should be an issue about it.
I actually have a bunch of questions, but let's take one. So, for instance, since you have Artifactory there,
Mm-hmm.
and you create an artifact, and your let's say your developed version currently has shebang in it.
Mm-hmm.
So just to know what you deployed. So you actually, when you create an artifact, there's no need for you to say to the next page deploy this or that, as understood.
I'm not sure I understood the question.
So you create an artifact,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next stage is automatically deployed.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no, but sometimes you need that environment, like your artifact name, for your purposes. For instance, to add a new file before when you deploy or stuff like that. So yes, so you have a health check,
Okay.
and in that health check you have what code version you currently have with a GitLab shebang. Okay.
Okay.
And that's an external file because you don't want that in your code, even when you deploy, because it's a developed version after that. Is there a way to like send the next job the previous environments that you get from the previous job, like info? So that's like the next stage.
So you're asking whether it's possible to pass files between the stages?
Yes, and environments and environment variables.
Not the environment variables, but I'm still not sure if I understood everything correctly. But yeah, I showed how you can pass the files between stages using this artifacts keyword. I think if it doesn't solve your question, let's talk later.
So, thank you for the presentation. I come from people operations as opposed to
Uh-huh.
developer operations, and my interest would be what would the effort be to set up GitLab CI completely from ground zero on a new project, like approximately, and what would you say the benefits of using GitLab CI are compared to using other CI tools?
That's a very big question, like comparison with other CI systems. If you compare it to the Jenkins, it's just a completely different approach. With Jenkins, you have plugins for like every single thing you might ever want to do, and a lot of configuration through the UI. This thing is completely technology agnostic, and it leaves like the whole stuff which should be executed up to you. And yeah, so it's a different approach. As for other systems, like it might take a lot of time to compare one to another. For example, there are a couple of things which we are currently not providing. So, for example, it is we don't have integration with IDEs. So if you are used to like to launch your to run your tests and see how they are executed inside your favorite IDE, we don't have support for it right now, but we're also planning to do it. And another thing we are working on is support for multi-project builds. This will be a huge win when we deliver this. So as for installation, as I said at the beginning, you can install GitLab from packages, so it's pretty straightforward. And if you want just to try, you don't have to install anything. You can just go to gitlab.com, register there, create a project. So there are no limitations like you can host any number of private projects there for any number of users. You can play with the CI, and then if you like it, then you can finally install it inside your company if you need it.
Can you trigger a build with some external, with some webhook, for example?
Yeah, we have API, so you can do that, of course.
So we have about just over 1,000 repos now on our GitLab server, which is really, really cool. It's not slowing down. So one of the things I'm wondering though is, are all these jobs executed on the GitLab server, or can you create slaves for them to run?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I need to explain now how the whole stuff works. On a GitLab, so your jobs are executed on runners, and runner is is a thing, well, which runs your job actually. And on GitLab.com we have a bunch of shared runners, like those are machines provided by DigitalOcean. So whenever your build is triggered, we boot up machines there and launch your stuff. So also you can configure it in a way that you can set up your own machine and set up runners there, connect them to GitLab installation, and your runs will be executed, your jobs will be executed there. You can even install the runner on your laptop and connect it with the GitLab.com or other GitLab installation. Yeah, there is a keyword after script, so you can like specify all the necessary commands there.
The build can trigger over builds.
Sorry?
Like dependency management. Like you have a project which is built, and after success, that will trigger over builds.
Yeah, this is not yet possible if you're talking about different projects. So multi-project builds are not supported yet, but our CI team is working on it right now.
Is it safe to use shared runners in terms of security?
I don't know the details. It should be. We had a conversation on this like 6 months ago. I don't know the details. I can find them for you later, but it should be considered relatively safe. If you're worried about security, just spin up your own runner and connect it to the GitLab.com.
At the beginning, you were showing the whole big cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And the dashboard that will show everything in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you talked about the multi-repository build.
Mm-hmm.
Will the dashboard and the whole cycle will it be inside one repository, or I can use it for multiple components that are in separate repositories?
Short answer, I don't know. So we are like we constantly we don't have like a huge plan for a year up front. Every month we decide what will be implemented, but the way it would be implemented, most probably, it would be similar to the dependency injection principle. So it won't be like like in Jenkins. It will be a bit different, if it answers your question. More questions? No? Okay. Yeah, you can run. You can install runner on Windows and execute jobs there. Yeah, this is this runner. Let me find it for you. GitLab. Shared runners. Yeah. So yeah, there's a thing, GitLab CI multi-runner, but I'm not sure about the details. So the short answer, yes, you can do it on Windows as well. So there are different kinds of runners, and for like every every platform you can find something.
Quick question. So since, for instance, I'm using Java and I'm using Maven, and there's a bunch of Java libraries I
Mhm.
download anytime I run unit tests, is there a way to cache between runners?
Yeah, there is a caching mechanism. I didn't include it in this presentation, but there is a keyword cache, and you just specify which folders you want to cache. So they will be cached even between build executions, not only the stages.
Can you specify which runner you want per stage?
Yeah, you can. So you can configure it in a way that a specific runner will be used for a specific job. So you can build something like build matrix. I was actually going to show you something like this. So this is how we build our packages. And yeah, let me. So this is only one stage called test, but yeah, and it builds in parallel. It builds a bunch of images for every operating system. Here's the execution log. And another. This is how we use CI for our GitLab Community Edition project, and it looks a little bit more complicated. And the configuration itself also looks complicated. I will just show it to you, so you will see that what kind of stuff is possible. Repository. GitLab CI. So this configuration is really big, and the reason why it's big is that, and this looks completely like something very weird, but I can explain if it's interesting. So we use tool for test parallelization, and this tool this tool learns from the previous builds how long it takes to execute specific tests, and it groups them into these batches, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like in those batches. And these, let me show you the simpler example. So this is a feature, actually, this is a feature of YAML. You can specify like the shortcut for the included instructions, and you can reuse it like this. So you can copy paste this stuff here, and it will be work like the same. And let me show you the tricky part. Yeah, this is a good example. This is a bunch of tests, commands which are launched in parallel, which are executed in parallel, and this should give you an idea what's actually happening. So we define these instructions here, and we use this CI build name variable, which is provided by GitLab. And when Rubocop job is executed, it substitutes this stuff with this stuff. And for CI build name, it uses this Rubocop command. So it will execute bundle exec Rubocop. So it saves us a lot of space. So instead of retyping this stuff multiple times, we just use a line like this, and it will execute like bundle exec rake haml lint. And this is just a more complicated example of the same stuff. So now we specify like some parameters then we parse them and we substitute them like this. So this example is really complicated. I spent half of an hour talking to the guy who wrote it, but finally I understood. And if you're curious, you can catch me, and yeah, I will walk you through this configuration as well. So if you have other questions, you can catch me. Like, okay.
Are there something like conditional build steps, like checking some parameter, and according to that parameter, we either do that step or not?
Good question, thank you. So this is another thing I wanted to show you. So this is exactly what you can see here. You can use variables, like you can define default value for some variable, like here. And this is actually Ruby on Rails. GitLab is written using Ruby on Rails. And for some of the tests, we should use database. For some, we don't need to use database. So what we can do, we can specify this setupdb variable to true by default and override it inside the jobs. And when this will be installed or executed, then you will see this. This is actually what you want to have. This is a conditional execution of this line. That's just another trick you can use. Okay, I think we should stop here. Feel free to reach me after the talk. Thank you.